welcome to Just Another Movie Podcast. And today we have something special.
Yep, something a bit different and exciting, which has been in the works for quite a while.
Yeah, a couple of weeks now. So we got a message on Instagram from this dude, and he was like, hey, do you want to check out my film? And then maybe we could come on the podcast and talk about it and whatnot. And you see, at first, I was like, this is probably going to be a load of shite. Like, it could be a scam or something, you know.
Oh, yes.
I didn't expect to get that sort of message, you know, because it's not like we have a big following or anything, but hit him up and it was like, yeah, that would be awesome. And then we've been talking to the guy now for a couple of weeks. He sent us the screener of his film, and tonight we get to interview him. And the guy is Ricky Glore, and the movie is Sweet Meats.
You know what else is sweet? My mate. No.
Were you waiting the whole time just to say that one fucking joke?
Yes.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, he's going to be coming on a Zoom call with us tonight, and we're going to have a chat with him about the film and what upcoming projects he has going on.
So I think before even going into it, how did he really reach out to you? Like, what did you post that got his attention? Or
So I've been posting like trauma related stuff. So I've been on a big trauma binge lately, and I was just posting pictures of like the films I was watching. I think I'd done a review on Poltergeist as well. And I think from that, because this film is like produced and distributed by Trauma, as far as I'm aware, he then reached out to us because of that through the podcast Instagram.
I mentioned to you, Ricky Glore sounds like an absolutely class name for
Yeah.
a director. I just think it can become like so iconic. It's like written and directed by Ricky Glore.
Yeah, it just
think
rolls
it
off
works.
the tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just works.
Yeah, but then Ricky Glore as well, he's the writer, the producer, the director, and the main actor in this film as well. And he's also a stand-up comedian. So he's got a lot of things under his belt.
Yeah, really versatile.
Yeah.
And I think as well, you said there how he wrote, directed, and starred in it. It shows how much he really wanted to get his project out there.
Yeah.
Which I have to give him so much credit for, because he actually knelt down and done it himself.
Yeah. That's one thing you can take away from this film, was you can tell it's a bare bones, minimalist film, especially when it comes to the budget. But the effort is unbelievable. Like the production of the music, like it's a musical as well. The production of the music I thought was really well done.
Genuinely, there is a couple songs that I would unironically listen to.
Yeah, there was a couple that was stuck in my head after we
Yeah.
finished watching it for sure. And then like they'd have some practical gore effects done. Yeah, you can tell they're cheaply done, but they're done well for the budget they had, I think.
Yeah, they spent every penny wisely, or sorry, every cent wisely,
Yeah.
as I should say. But yeah, I was impressed with how much mileage they got out of the budget. As I said, the music is great, even though I'm not a country person. I actually liked the songs, and you could tell everyone making the film wanted to make it and had like fun and enjoyment making it.
Oh yeah, definitely. It just seeps through. Like, even though it has like cheap budget sort of energy, it also has the energy that everybody there is having a fucking blast making this project, and that makes you enjoy the film so much more, I think, whenever you can see that.
Yeah, 100%. And lastly, I do want to mention then the film just had this charm about it, which made it enjoyable to watch. And I think it's more fun watching in a group. I know it was us two, but like I feel like it elevated the film.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
And I have a couple of projects in the works as well, which we're going to talk to Ricky about whenever we get him on the Zoom call later on. But yeah, so just sort of say what the film is kind of about. It's like the story of Bobby Sweet, and he works as an employee at this fast food restaurant, and then mishaps happen and he becomes like the owner of the place, who's sort of controlled by the ex-owner's daughter.
Yeah.
And he just wants to play country music.
Yep, and like I feel like that's a slight running gag.
Yeah.
And it's just so good.
Yeah. And then, yeah, they end up taking over the franchise, making this whole thing. But instead of serving animal meat, they're serving human meat. It's got a bit of a Sweeney Todd thing going on there. So it does. Are you good? What was that noise?
That was the lamb shawarma from last night.
It's coming back to haunt you.
My toilet did not thank me. So really, the film at its core is a cannibalistic country musical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. And the way they have like their like murder gear set up is pretty cool because it's like this pig mask and like the butcher's jacket and stuff. It's a pretty cool design.
See, because like I look at that and like I feel like that would have potential to be like an iconic,
Yeah,
outfit of a killer in a
it
film.
could be a very recognizable one.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
because I think that and the film as a whole just completely unique, and I think that's great.
Yeah, we're looking forward to talking to Ricky, and we can't thank him enough for sending us this screener because it's a great opportunity for us, and obviously he's going to kick out of it because he gets to come on and talk about his project and what he's got going on next.
And I think as well, not just the fact that he sent the screener, the fact he sent other materials as well.
And he's been pretty consistent, like keeping up to date with us and stuff, and he's been very punctual getting back to us about how we're going to do this interview and stuff. So it's been very accommodating.
Yep.
Because we're not professionals by any means, but we'll try our best.
Yep, but no, it's go be interesting, and looking forward to meeting this other person who's made again his own film.
Exactly, he's made a fucking film.
Yes.
Yeah.
What can all of us say?
Exactly. Fair fucks to him.
Yeah, exactly. Rock on, dude.
Yeah. But anyway, this is our interview with Ricky Glore.
We're already recording in progress. Oh, a two-shot. Holy shit. Blink-182. Holy shit. I just had my 40th birthday staycation because my wife and daughter are going to be on a Disney cruise for my actual 40th birthday on October 9th. So Blink-182 just played with Drug Church and Alkaline Trio in Cincinnati on Tuesday. So she did a special staycation where we had a hotel in Cincinnati, and all of our kids, our daughter, 6-year-old daughter, and our twin boys that aren't yet 2, they were with grandparents, and we went to the concert. It was a great concert, but like I love the business workings of it, and I thought it was super weird that like they didn't mention at all during the set that Matt Skiba was part of the band at one point.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, that's weird. Like, they kind of do service of a song from every album, even like including Neighborhoods, like the proper albums. So like Cheshire Cat. Sorry, if I'm going way nerdier Blink-182 right now than you are.
This is all our shit.
Okay, then the shirt that you're wearing, like you're like, I got this shirt from Walmart. Like that's but I've been a Blink-182 fan. Like that ties a little bit into like I think what we're going to be talking about a little bit, like the like how shit started was my older brother Eric, who's 5 years older than me, took me for a good stretch to go see movies in theaters that I wouldn't have been old enough to see by myself, but because he could drive, so like we went and saw Scream. I remember seeing the theaters that like my parents would have been more than happy to let me, like I had seen everything at a VHS, like way too young of an age over here.
Yep.
Yeah. And so but in that same line was like the modern teen comedies. So Can't Hardly Wait. My brother took me to see around the same time, like 1998. And that was my first experience of Blink-182 because they had Damn It on the soundtrack, and I went and got Dude Ranch like real quickly after, and I was just like, oh, and because my brother was listening to Green Day and like top 40 stuff, I was just like, I think I think this group. And then when Enema the State hit when I was in 8th grade, I was just like, yeah, I'm in for all of this.
Yeah.
But them not mentioning Skiba at the concert, I was just like, dude just blew the roof off the place. Like their portion of the concert was electric. And you're not going to mention that dude was integral for 2 albums of your fucking career. Sorry if there's not cursing allowed.
That's fine.
Okay. But I was just like, that's just weird. It's like, I'm texting all my friends. Like one friend of mine lives in Hawaii, loves Blink, couldn't come see the tour. And then they just had Ski Bat Riot Fest join them on stage with Tom. And I was like, oh, You were waiting for a bigger venue. I see how it is. Like, I get it. I get, like, don't do it in Cincinnati. Do it in Chicago. Like, that makes way more of a big splash. But, like, I'm glad they did it because, yeah, I was like, this is weird. Like, Skiba just destroyed with Alkaline. And then you guys aren't even going to mention that, like, part of the reason kind of what so we were building our own theories. We're just like, well, maybe Skiba had in his contract when he got ousted out of blank that he's like, we hit Alkaline gets to open for you, like gets to make the money off of X amount of tours. Like when, sorry, it's your podcast.
Oh, no.
And it's not about Blink
To be
182.
fair, I'm happy they actually played Wishing Well off Neighborhoods because
Yeah.
it's such an underrated album.
I was late to Neighborhoods. So Neighborhoods came out when I was literally going to celebrate my bachelor party weekend with all of my friends that like we grew up like listening to Blink and loving the evolution of them, loving the evolution of their music, the relationships. Like we loved the Urethra Chronicles 1 and 2, like all the extra stuff, right? I grew up loving the Monkees. So a band that had a little bit more of a theatricality to them, like with the Mark, Tom, and Travis show, and like I was savvy enough to even with the Monkees. They had done the final episodes, not that you're asking, of the Monkees season 1 was an on the road with the Monkees. And so you got to see them do this live concert version of this band you've been watching this fake TV show for. Well, I knew that they, to make themselves sound better, went back in the studio after that episode was recorded and re-recorded better sounding tracks for the live stuff. So even Mark, Tom, and Travis, I remember listening to that as a kid being like, this is re-recorded. Like this is
Just to make it sound a bit better.
yeah, Tom ain't that good. Like like no shade, but like
Yeah.
so flash forward to now, they do play, I think, a lot of pre-recorded audio while their concert is going on,
Yeah.
which it's a little hard to swallow, but like you're saying, like Wishing Well, it's off of a more produced album, which when I first heard it going to that bachelor weekend, I was just like, ah, I like dogs eating dogs. Like that even it sounded a little bit like Neighborhoods mixed with like production of like a boxcar racer or a plus 41 or plus 44.
Yeah.
Plus 44. Yeah.
Okay, plus 44. Um, and so like I'm okay with that. And like Mark definitely skews more towards a what is the best produced sound. And like even Travis is a producer. That's my only knock against One More Time is I think the drums are a little heavy. And then seeing that Travis is a producer, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. All that sorry. We can talk Blink 182 for days because they are one of my top three I would say performing artist
Yeah.
because I think the reason why I'm into them has more to do than just the music they put on the tracks. Like it isn't just a band I listened to on the album. It was a band that I was just like, oh, I like you. Like I like something more that you're bringing, like the theatricality, these characters, this relationship, this bond. And that was very not hard for me because I kind of understood the machinations of business, especially in a Hollywood setting. The first time I met the Monkees, I I had performed with Mickey, Davey, and Peter on stage. I had worn a blue monkey shirt like they wore on the TV show and a green hat looking like Nesmith, and they weren't touring with him. And so in '96, I went to a concert and I was in the front row. And about 6 songs in, they called me up on stage because they said Mike Nesmith was there because I look like him. And afterwards, I went up to Mickey Dolenz after we got the backstage passes at the end of the concert, and I was just like, "Hey, where's Davey and Peter? Are we going to get a picture all together?" And Mickey was just like, "Oh, we don't do that." And I was just like, "Oh, because you guys aren't best friends who lived on a beach house. Like even Blink 182, like they might have been these young kids out of California, but I wonder when that stopped." And that's not like a question we ask ourselves a lot, but like me and Nick Hyans and Eric Hunter, like members of NKY Films, where I am just like as many childhood friends as I can accumulate to help make these creative dreams happen, I'm just like, yeah, that's kind of what I would like to do. But I wonder if like if there would be a point where we're just like, oh, you know what? Business says it's better to not have you part of this. Or
Mhm. But then it's good to have those sort of friends where you can have these creative endeavors with and stuff, and especially ones from childhood.
oh,
As
and they call you on bullshit.
oh yeah,
Like that's the
because they're
good.
like, no, that's shit. Fuck off.
Yeah, they're just like, well, you know that's not good. I'm just like, fuck, you're right. Yes.
Yeah,
Like,
have to get a wee bit of
like
a shortcut or something. I'm like, no, no, no.
yeah. Welcome to your guys' podcast. Let's introduce yourselves.
Well, we're just another movie podcast, and you are Ricky Glore,
Oh, I am sure.
writer and director of Sweet Meats, and you also done another film called All Your Friends Are Dead.
Yes.
Was that your like first dive in the filmmaking, or is this something you've been doing for a good chunk?
No, that was literally Nick Hines and I who co-founded NKY Films, this incredibly small production company out in northern Kentucky, which is where we're from. I believe you guys probably take some regional pride in where you're from. We don't take pride. We are slow to the roll of appreciating where we are from and for the good parts of that. Because we're not considered the South, but we're definitely considered Northern Kentucky, regardless how close to Cincinnati. It's still considered a quote unquote red state during political times. But as far as like creators and filmmakers, we couldn't be farther from that. All Your Friends Are Dead came from Nick Hines and I had been making short films, and we had done a sketch comedy show the year after we graduated high school, which is where we met. We had a lot of friends in common: Danny Johns, Eric Hunter, Nick Prince, Jason Dill. And together we would make these zombie short films. Like Romero was coming back with Land of the Dead. Rodriguez was coming back with Once Upon a Time in Mexico. It's kind of the first reunion of the 90s indie filmmakers. Like Kevin Smith's coming back with Jersey Girl. It's like, oh shit, he's not doing Jam Bob. Like
Yeah, yeah.
everyone's maturing, like everyone's graduating. And so we took that on, being fans of those and like Spike Lee and stuff, being like, okay, we need to carry the torch. We need to make those versions of that. So we made our zombie movie that was terrible. Um, Years later, after we had all gone kind of our different ways, but it all kept together in one way or another, um, I found myself back from living in Chicago for 9 years, where I met my wife, and doing theater there, doing improv, doing sketch, auditioning for Saturday Night Live, and just being in a sphere of the world that I wanted to be in, but still figuring out what my voice was creatively and how I wanted to do it. I then moved back to Northern Kentucky to be like, okay, I want to start a family, but I still feel like in this day and age, and this is pre-COVID, being like, I feel like if I wanted to do film, I could do it kind of anywhere. It doesn't like the struggle is how are you going to get it seen? So it doesn't matter where you make it. Like that struggle will still be the same. Like, what's your idea? How much money could it possibly cost? So Hyatt and I were talking, and we were doing some short films together, which can be seen online. Um, but we were like, okay, if we turned 40, and this was 5 years ago, we were like, what regret? Like, if we were doing the cliche, like, okay, you turned 40, what haven't you done? Like, whatever you take those metrics from, whether socioeconomic or your parents or just whatever, we both were just like, we're pretty happy with who we are as people. But I guess if we had a regret, it would be that we never made a feature film, because too many people are precious with that. And whatever our feature film would be, we just have to figure out how to make it logistically the most feasible thing that we could make.
Yeah.
So Heinz was just like, whatever our idea is, it has to be something that is me with the camera, and primarily we need one actor that is dedicated. And he's like, and that would be you. And I was like, I don't want to act on camera. He's like, unfortunately, this is what we have to do. So him and I kibitzed for a little bit, and I was just like, "Hey, I looked up the IP of this, and there's no thing called Santa versus Satan." And I don't know if this is the case now. This was the case in like 2019, pre-COVID. And and he's just like, "All right, well, what's the story?" I was like, what if because at this time I also weighed about 340 pounds. I was a much bigger individual.
Yeah.
And again, just trying to like make like, well, what could work with me? What do we have? Using that indie filmmaker spirit, like, what do you have? Well, I'm a fat dude that has a beard. I was like, what if I was a mall Santa that got fired like days before Christmas? His like basically using the dirty work, Norm Macdonald, because I'm a big fan of Norm Macdonald. I'm like, what if like his girlfriend kicks him out and he's this Santa looking motherfucker who has no clothes, just a Santa suit, and he goes to this cabin in the woods and he comes across these kids, almost like Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah.
Because like we're always like, we're like, well, what's the bet? Like, what is the most lucrative idea? Well, horror. You can do it easy, and it's like pizza. People will give horror a chance, even if it's horror comedy. Like,
Yeah.
they kind of take a chance. And so we're like, all right, well, what if we do that? And then like we come across this kids, and it just turns into Evil Dead, and it's this dude in a Santa outfit who's fighting evil, like
Yeah.
with these teens. And so, luckily, as easy of an elevator pitch that I'm sure that like that was for 90% of movies that got made in the 80s, Heinz was just like, no, we're not doing that. And I was just like, okay, okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was like, also, I was like, you know what? Like, I Googled it. Like, there ain't nothing named Santa versus Satan, but like, if you want to turn down $1 million, but like, all right. So we went back to the board, and I had the script because we are not ones that are poor with ideas. And I had this title for something else called All Your Friends Are Dead that I don't know. Did you guys see Fear Street on Netflix?
Yeah.
The first one. So one of the devices they used is for future victims, a glowing X would appear on their back. I had that in a script for a story called All Your Friends Are Dead that started with like, what if we started at the end of a Friday the 13th movie? Where
Right.
we're seeing all these fucking kids just get mowed down, and we don't know who they are because those movies are bad at showing us who they are anyway.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wouldn't that be great that then the movie is about like the next year, the PTSDs of the final girl,
Yeah.
and then like whether the killer comes back or they don't. That was going to be the whole idea. Is like her trying to become friends. So I always thought it was funny in the Elm Street movies, like when Alice loses all of her friends from part 4, that part 5 begins with her with like a really core group of friends.
Yeah.
I was like, ain't nobody be friends with her. Like everybody be like, no, she's the cursed girl. So that's where that idea came from. So so taking that title from something else I had written the beginnings of, like probably 30 pages. And I was like, I can't use that anymore. It's too close for that other thing.
Yeah.
They didn't rip it off. I just, fans of the genre will think of it's like comedians. We'll think of the same joke.
Aye.
It might be similar enough. So then I started writing. I was like, oh, what if I made it? Because I got hurt in high school, but when I got hurt from sports, I was just like, well, I'll do theater because that's what I've been doing anyway. So it was no great loss. But I was like, what if it was like the Breakfast Club meets The Big Chill and a Friday the 13th movie? So it was semi-autobiographical, and I was like, I'll play the lead role. Like, this is the easiest way that I think with the most sincerity that we can do it, we can do it. We filmed the middle of the movie, which had the most amount of cast, with that idea that I just pitched. And then after we got our budget on Kickstarter, we filmed the beginning and the end. Unfortunately, by the time that we filmed through the middle and we were really sincere, the beginnings and the ends, there was always going to be comedy, but it's almost like we kind of figured out what the movie should be.
Yeah.
And I think for me personally, I think the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie really work well together. And I think the middle of the movie looks like it was filmed at a different time.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a long answer, but we made it for $5,959, and submitted it to a lot of festivals and got denied by a lot of festivals because they said it was too comedic.
Right, okay.
Yep.
So
No, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
yeah.
yeah, no, so then how did sweetmeats become a thing then? After all your friends are dead?
We got disenchanted with the idea that when we got feedback from festivals, horror festivals, that were like, it's too comedic. Because, like, sometimes through Film Freeway, which is a great website for film festivals, they've kind of just put it all in one place. Like, if you want to find all the festivals, whether they cost money or they don't, blah, 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 Film Freeway is great. Um, you can click an option to get feedback if you want it. And
Yeah.
so for all your friends who did, we're just like, yeah, tell us feedback. It's our first movie. We made it for under $6,000. There's a load of wrong with this movie. We just wanted to make a 90-minute. That was our goal. That was our like if we never tried to make a feature film, because everything you hear is about how hard it is. And the one thing that we learned, we were just like, I don't think it's that hard. You
Yeah.
just have to be willing to be like to bend to
Yeah.
like when things don't happen the way you want them to.
You have to adapt.
Yeah, and so that was the thing. Like the dumb little interview story that we came up with was indie film or micro budget, because indie film is technically anything under $20 million, which is hilarious. Um, we call it no budget. I guess it's micro budget. You can have an idea, but if you are unwilling to see that idea or that image change, it's like starting off with puzzle pieces where you're just like, look, I have an idea of what this thing should finally look at once I'm done putting all the puzzle pieces in place. But in micro budget, you got to be really willing for that to be a different picture with
Yeah.
the same pieces. And so I felt like we did that. Sweetmeats came about as pivoting from All Your Friends Are Dead, hearing too much that it's a comedy. It's a comedy. It's not horror. And we were just like, fuck. It makes sense. Festivals are like, we want to see TNA.
Yeah.
They want to program independent movies that are just like heavy gore, heavy tits of chicks that you don't know. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, I can go to Pornhub. I can go to X videos. Like, I'm not in that age anymore where I got to see my dad's nudie moves. But like, I don't have to pause at Alyssa Milano in Embrace of a Vampire, like to see some lesbian action if I want to. I can Google that, but whatever. To each his own. It's a business. Like that is a business. They knew who they want to get the festivals. Again, I don't want to yuck anybody's yum. That is a genre. That's not the genre we want to make. We don't sit on any pedestal, but we are like, okay, what we thought we learned from that was we should be up front that the next thing we want to make is a horror musical comedy called Open House, which is about a pair of realtors who are husband and wife who are sometimes kidnapping prospective buyers of houses, chaining them to theater seats in the basement while they workshop their new musical that they're working on. And they're also cannibals, every now and then cutting them up and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Within that story was a Sweetmeats existed just very peripherally as a commercial, as like a restaurant that existed in that world. Because of who we are and my friends and I, we will create a much bigger world. Like everything's a universe nowadays. So like we take that from the comic book age. And so we would expand on it and we'd be like, okay, in this restaurant, it's run by these characters and this is what happened before this. We thought being forthright with our Kickstarter for Open House and putting it on Front Street would help us. And so like we got Edgar Wright retweeting, we got Roger Avery resharing, we got a lot of great press, added up to $0 on the Kickstarter. We
Really?
couldn't we couldn't reach our goal, like which I think was like $10,000.
Yeah.
Um, not a high goal with especially the amount of press that we had. And I was just like, fuck, I hate this. I was like, okay. We had a restaurant where we could film the Sweetmeats commercials for a day. If that restaurant would let us film there for 5 days, and if we built like this prequel, almost like I have to give credit to Ty West of like doing Pearl, yeah, and all the X, all that. I was just like, oh, fascinating. I love that. So we'll do our version of Motel Hell slash Phantom of the Paradise. The origins of this restaurant that appears in this small area here. And I had all this other music from different things that I had written. I was like, we can make this South exploitation weird drive-in movie. And as long as I can get the location and these cast members on board, I also had the luxury of reappropriating this script that I had from Chicago called Fleetwood Macbeth, where it was Macbeth, but told at a disc jockey radio station in the 70s to Fleetwood Mac music. So I was just like, if we can do that in a restaurant, and Lady Macbeth and Banquo are brother and sister, and Macbeth is Bobby Sweets, this kind of like idiot savant Jim Croce, but also not as talented, but just like moldable enough to be saleable for like a mass market. Like if we can just do that, and like again, all the people that like signed on board and came on board really quickly. That's so you guys just watch Sweetmeats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry because like Sweetmeats is this thing when you deal with trauma, you don't have an idea of how long the life of this thing will be. Like we started touring this movie about a year ago, and the movie's life won't be over because they're going to put it out on Blu-ray. They're going to still do festivals. They're going to put it on Troma Now. So it's interesting. Like it's cool to still see this thing. Like just because it came out doesn't mean that it's done. Like in its run of people. Like there's going to be interesting little waves of people seeing it.
Yeah. Just by even scrolling through, like you said, Truma Now and stuff, they'll just go,
Yeah.
"Oh, that looks sweet. Let's stick that on." But then talking about
What
Truma,
time? Well, sorry. What time of night is it there for you? It
It's
is 7:27 here. What time is it for you guys?
just nearly 12:30 at night.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But
So what really got Troma's attention to the film then?
It was literally that thing of, like I said, open house not working. And then Lloyd is someone, I think it was still called Twitter before it was X, who I believe in no rock unturned, being the producer, writer, director, actor, wearing many hats. So I tweeted Lloyd and I was just like, hey man, it'd be great if you shared this campaign for this like no budget Motel Hell meets Rocky Horror Picture Show meets Phantom of the Paradise meets Monkey's Movie Head kind of movie. And he was just like, abs. And I also didn't know Lloyd at all. And I didn't know who ran his social media. And so he retweeted, he's like, absolutely fantoxic. Support movies like this. This is how Trump make your own damn movie. I've been saying it for years. He probably tagged something that he was selling, like at the time.
one of those books or something.
Yeah. And just because he retweeted it, I was just like, okay. I was like, so he's aware, or whoever's running this social media is aware. I was like, no harm in asking, would you do a cameo? Because I had written, because of my association with the Monkees and now with Lloyd, I was just like, man, wearing a producer hat, I was like, it'd be great to have these in-world commercials where there was a local carpet salesman. I could have Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees be that.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be really funny. And then on the other side, it would almost be competing. If I could have Lloyd be this vacuum salesman. So we have this one company that's carpet, this one company that's vacuum. You could have innuendos for days.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I had all this shit written, and Mickey Dolenz, I could never have it worked out. Where I mean, like his innuendos were real up in your face for carpet. And so for Lloyd, of course, I mean, that's his bread and butter. I tweeted him again, just a tweet. And I was just like, thank you for supporting and sharing. Maybe you would want to be a cameo in the movie. And he responded, oh, I would love to, blah, blah, blah. Please contact me at, and he sent me an email address. And I was like, I'm sure that's to an assistant. It was, I think, to him and an assistant. And so they asked for the full script. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. They probably want to know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
And so I sent it. And then Lloyd emailed back and he said, do you have any plans for distribution? And I was like, no, we film in 2 weeks. We have our budget. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean we think we're probably going to four wall it. We're probably going to try to take it around as probably not waste the money on festivals because with our last movie we spent too much money on festivals.
Yeah.
I'd rather just go around rent indie movie theaters and then go to colleges and just paper and
Yeah.
be there with myself. Be like, come watch my movie. Um, because I think that would be just as beneficial as wasting money on the festivals and getting denied. And he was just like, well, if you're interested, I would like to get on a call and see about Troma acquiring Sweetmeats. And I was like, oh, awesome. So then I got his assistant at the time, which was Garrett Sullivan, who I think read the script in full. And he's just like, well, what do you guys need to make the movie? And I was like, we don't need anything. We have our budget. But if you guys come on board, it's going to make our jobs way easier to make this thing that we want to make because that will definitely be an uptick on our social media.
Yeah.
So anyway, after about 3 meetings and me talking with Nick Hyatt, being like, do we like this? They're going to own the movie before we even make the movie. Are you cool with that? Because our second movie will get way more eyes on it just being associated with Troma, or we can work off of that. And so we made the agreement that a week and a half before filming, Troma owned the movie and was going to release it. And so the best thing that came from that was we knew people were going to see it. So I think there maybe was a little bit of comfortability, even though we did 8 days in a row of principal photography, like straight. That is basically the movie is 8 days straight. We were like, well, okay, this is nice. Like, we know there's going to be a group of people that will definitely see this. And the other thing that was nice that came through that is, which was a little bit worrisome because of how run and gun we were, there was zero notes. Like, there wasn't like, we want to see an edit, we want to see cuts, like, we want to make notes. So, kudos to Troma for just literally being like, yeah, we're interested in this thing and we want whatever you're making for good and for bad.
Aye. They weren't down your neck saying, no, you need to change this or do that. They're just like, you go make your fucking movie and we'll sort it out after that.
Well, Eileen Ernest, who played Laddie, I was like, look, and she's like, well, do you think they're going to add any tits to the movie? And I was just like, they could. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a good, and she's like, where do you think they would add them? I was like, I don't know. I was like, there's the scene where you drag me into the closet. Like, they could cut into the closet and add kind of like a TNA scene there. I was like, if I'm trying to think of like the most logical cut in moments, I was
Yeah.
like, I could do it then. She's like, fuck. She's like, do you think they would let you know if they were going to drop it in? I was like, it'd be nice if they did, but they own the movie.
Yeah,
I was like, we don't, but fortunately, for good and for bad, as funny as that would be for us to be at a screening and to be like, whoa, hey,
Yeah.
those are yours. like, but we haven't had that because Lloyd has the only bit of notes that I can say from Lloyd were the first cut of the trailer we made didn't feature a song and didn't feature a singing. And he was just like, for a movie that features singing and songs, like original music, he's like, I think you should feature that. And we were like, absolutely, yes. What a good note. What a good note from the guy who's been doing this for 50 fucking years.
Definitely did. But I'm sure it was exciting getting Trauma on board as well because they do have that legacy behind them. And
Yeah,
like you said, you're getting so many eyes on you just because of that name, but as well.
it's a worry for, anything that we have later because we don't feel so the amount of eyes, it's great to have people that now know if they want to be fans of what we're doing and what we want to continue to do. But it's also a weird sword of like with you guys, I mean, you guys have seen Sweetmeats now. Like, would you call it first and foremost a horror movie?
Well, the horror is there, but it's not like the music. So it isn't,
It's
the music is really up there, and just the
yeah.
story of this dude who's been thrown into this position. that he's stuck in because he wants to, progress his music career and all. And then the horror is there, but it's just really funny whenever it comes in because it's unexpected sometimes. But
I think what I always find interesting about Macbeth in general or Sweetmeats with Bobby Sweets is different times which I'll just ask. Sorry, what are each of your names? I know we have Joel Taylor
Yeah,
listed at the
that's me.
bottom. Okay.
and I'm
I
Darren.
figured I figured someone wasn't Joel and someone wasn't Taylor.
Yeah.
Um, so John and Joel, who are each of your favorite characters of Sweetmeats beyond what you think of the movie? Like, who did you like the most as characters in the movie?
I actually like Bobby because like he was just idiotic and like there was something like charming about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I liked the brother character. I thought he was
yeah, Jerry.
yeah, because he was just so nice to Bobby. He just loved everything he had going on, and it was quite disheartening to see where things
I
went.
Yeah, and that's what I love too is like for me, I always think because again the Macbeth of it all, I'm just like, well, Banquo dies, so like Jerry has to die. But the amount of people that have come to me afterwards, spoilers for Sweetmeats, that isn't you can't watch it readily available right now. I don't know when that's going to be. Hopefully soon. But for me, Jerry, that is his demise. Like he's going to die. Like that has to
Yeah.
happen. Um, but there have been people that are just like, you know what? I thought the ending was going to be that Laddie slips on a banana peel and falls into the meat grinder, slips on one of Jerry's banana peels,
Yeah.
and it's just like, oh, you got a little bit of your own there. Like, and I'm just like, fuck, that's really good. I was like, that's not what we did. But for me, like, Bobby is such a piece of shit. And I think if I had to analyze myself, it is the part of me that recognizes that other people are way more talented than I am, like me personally. Like Timmy, who plays Jerry in a meta like conversation, or even like Eileen, who plays Laddie, both of them are better improvisers than I am, and they're better actors than I am. So that's why I, as the creator, gave myself less lines and gave them the load to carry emotionally, narratively, thematically. But in the thing that I'm writing, where I'm acknowledging that to some degree, Jerry is musically better than Bobby, vocally better than Bobby, and like just a better dude. But Bobby gets by with this, oh shucks, I don't know. But when push comes to shove, what's worse, being the person who holds the blade to kill your enemy or your competitor, or being the person that's just like watches it happen? And I'm just like, oh, what a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I was like, because like whenever anybody proposes to me the idea that Bobby and him would have come together, and like against Laddie, like she slips on a banana peel and just happenstance. Because then what would that relationship be? Well, then Bobby would still be Bobby, but then Bobby would become Laddie, and
Yeah.
then Jerry would become his Bobby. He would exploit Jerry. I, I love talking about the dumb, like seriousness of this like Game of Thrones dynasty, like within like Sweetmeats because I think it's hilarious. And like that is, if anything that I want to do with my career, it might not be horror, but it might be like the movies that we want to do are going to be genre bending of like, okay, well, what would be our Jean-Claude Van Damme movie? Like if we got to make like an early 90s, like Brandon Lee martial arts straight to video movie, like
Yeah.
what would we do? Like, and us as a group of filmmakers, we're like, that's what we want to do. Like, we don't want to just keep making horror. Like, we will make horror. I
Yeah.
will make a horror movie. It's fun. But like, I also, if we're given more of a budget and more like talent to play with, like, we just want to make the versions of the movies that we grew up with. Like those straight to video, like I mean, or I guess they weren't straight to video, like Jean-Claude Van Damme or like Sylvester Stallone or Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger. Seagal sucks, So I would maybe take some like Seagal movies.
It'd be the NKY version of Under Siege.
Yeah, which is based. I mean, they did that was their version of a Die Hard movie.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, we already have um probably three movies from now if everything came to fruition the way that we wanted in the Kevin Feige world of like projecting like what you want to do. Which is hard because like Kevin Smith tried to call a shot many times with Mallrats too, and
Yeah.
that shit ain't that shit ain't ever seen the light of day.
No, I probably never will at this point.
Yeah, I don't know if you can capture. He's one of those. He's a creator that like I have learned a lot from and respect the hell out of, but I don't know that the art is for me anymore, and
Yeah.
that's okay.
I
That
Kevin Smith is the dude who, whenever I watched when I was younger, got me really into films because I love Mallrats, and then I watched Clerks, and I was like, because it's so
Same. I
terrible.
watched Mallrats so my first foray into Kevin Smith was my brother Eric, who is gay. At the time, I didn't know he was gay. He was 5 years older than me, and he came back from studying abroad from England in college, and he came back with Chasing Amy and Dogma on VHS. And he gave me Dogma, and he's like, "I think you're really gonna like this." And then he gave me Chasing Amy, and he's like, "I think you might like this a couple years from now."
Right, okay. That makes sense considering the subject matter of Chasing Amy compared to
Oh, I wasn't having sex. Like I wasn't having heterosexual sex, let alone like thinking about like gay sex or like like I remember like the first time I saw like similarly like my next door neighbor and I, Jason Dill, who I mentioned before, we watched Mallrats and we were just like fuck yeah, we were like making mixed CDs of the songs from the Kevin Smith universe and stuff. And I remember we walked to my local video store, Showtime Video, and rented Clerks. And the only reason that Dan, the little Danny DeVito looking video store clerk, like he chomped on a cigar, he's just like, I've seen the stuff your dad lets you rent. Like you can rent this. And it was Ray Lar because we would rent horror there all the time.
yeah.
And we walked back like 3 miles or whatever back. And we watched it after having seen Clerks or after having seen Mallrats. And we were just like, oh. And we hadn't had jobs yet.
Yeah.
And so Clerks was like, I don't know. It was, we didn't appreciate it at all. Like,
It's so bare bones compared to Mallrats.
yeah. Yeah. And like, we had loved Jason Lee. Like, seeing Jason Lee and Mallrats, we were just like, oh, I'm Jason Lee. No, I'm Jason. Like,
Yeah,
it
you want
was like,
to go
no, no,
back?
no. I couldn't care less about like this, but love stuff a lot. Like, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's sick. He's have a couple of films in the pipeline now. You've got two more coming out after Sweetsmead's done its whole thing. It's like Casually Cool and
Yeah.
Trudy. Can you tell?
That goes with that goes with this idea that if we're not being beholden to horror, we got to do things that we know that we can make happen because like if open house taught us anything, it was very quickly even before we went to Sweetmeats and we went to Indiegogo and then it kind of was like this snowball that just kept growing with Trauma, got our budget, got to make exactly the movie we wanted to make for less than under $22,000. Still an incredibly low budget movie for having music and everything that we have in it, but um, really a homemade movie. We're doing that again because the next movie that we wanted to make was going to be this movie that required a high school, which is truly Trudy, which is a coming of age. It's every coming of age movie. So at first it was, what if we made, I'll tell the story since he's not here. Eric M. Hunter, the co-writer of Truly Trudy, he texted me one night. I was going downstairs to make my daughter popcorn as her like nighttime treat or whatever. And he texts me, he's like, what if we made a story about the last surviving member of a religious death cult and she didn't die, but she ends up in like this rom-com. Or he's like, I don't know, something like that. Dot dot dot. And like I got that and I was just like, oh. I think she should be in every John Hughes movie. I think she should be the surviving member of a religious death cult who doesn't die, like the one, like Jonestown. Like
Yeah.
Jonestown, everybody drinks the Kool-Aid for some reason. The poison doesn't affect her. And she's like, then she has to go live the last 4 months of high school, a senior year, and go
Yeah.
through every high school trope in 4 months. Because that's another end of days, right? Depending on how you look at it. But if you already went through mortality, maybe those end of days don't look the same to you as they do as the people who've been steeped in it. If you're just dropped in it. So I was like, I think that's a cool story. And so if it's Pretty in Pink, if like we use that as the basis and she has a ducky and like I was like, all right, what's this? Like, what if she has a superpower, but she doesn't? She just can get shit done because she doesn't have the weight on the culmination of the end of times of the school because she's already gone through the end of time. She's already blazed past that. So like she's gonna be super goal oriented. And so Trudy is about this girl who goes through all that and figures out that she can make every other high school kid's dream come true in the last 4 months of high school.
Yeah.
Like, because there's also this idea that I think high school is also not as big as we're presented in pop culture. So there's a little bit of that where they're just like, well, I mean, I guess if I could kick like the winning field goal in like a football game, and she's like, let's do it. Like
Yeah.
a bucket list, like yeah, like right. Hey guys, in the main lobby, write your bucket list of what you would love to do before the end of high school. So her thing is like, I'm gonna get everything off that list.
Yeah.
But of course, she doesn't get anything off her own list.
Just for everybody else.
So that's for everybody else. So then her group of friends is just like, well, Trudy, like, what do you want to do? And that's when it's like, oh shit. Like, I want to get a kiss from the quarterback on prom night. I want to have this. I want to do this. Like, she does have, like, oh, it turns out, like, you came from a cult that had zero individuality. And
Yeah.
now, after having experienced so much happiness, like, there's only so many presents you can deliver to broken children before you start identifying with the broken child, right? That's like why you're doing it. So then that's what the movie then becomes is that she starts fulfilling her every 80s high school the music like it's grown exponentially from the idea.
Yeah.
But for us to even do it, we're like, I think that'll cost us $40,000 to $50,000. And again, that's on how we do things.
Yeah.
That's still a spit in the bucket. Us knowing that I don't think we could even raise that money because it's not horror through crowdfunding. We pivoted, Eric Hunter and I, to this other idea in Nick Hines. We're like, okay, what if we make an even crazier idea? We're going to make 2 movies in one calendar year. And we're going to base them off of the budgets of our first 2 feature films. So in December, we'll make a movie for between $7,000 and $10,000. Very similar to All Your Friends Are Dead. Bare bones, but it's going to be, and the only reason this came to be is because Eric Hunter and I kind of like from Sweetmeats to Open House when that didn't happen. I was like, I don't want to sit in this ambiguous period of like, we might not make a thing if we try to wait to crowdfund $40,000. I was like, what if we come up with an idea for something that costs like $7,000? I was like, because I think we can just like, based on just making our last movie, I think we'd maybe have enough interest for people to be like, all right, well, you guys can make another feature for $7,000. Like, even this sucks. Let's see what that is. And so we came up with leaning into our moniker, which is heart and humor. We're gonna do a Rockford Files / like Magnum PI / Murder She Wrote 88 minute feature length movie of this thing that almost plays like it's a 2-parter late 70s, 80s mystery detective TV show. That you're going to get a murder right off the bat.
Yeah.
You're going to get introduced to your lead. You're going to introduce to the cops. You're going to get introduced to the town. But it's going to be our town. It's going to be Northern Kentucky, which harbors right on the line of the Ohio River. Across the river is Cincinnati. So you had this big city imposing on this smaller town. So it's like, we're just going to straight up make that, but it's again going to be our heart and humor. So it's going to be like in between Wet Hot American Summer and like, gosh, I can't think of what the other thing in between like Wet Hot American Summer and Sweetmeats. So it might not get as farce as Wet Hot. It's going to get pretty close,
Yeah.
but from beginning to end, you're going to see a murder mystery.
Yeah.
And then so we're going to make that in December, and we got to raise at least $7,000. We're going to get a lot of local interest and hopefully sponsors. And then the like the next goal, if we hit $7,000 at Indiegogo, is it will then open to the perks of Trudy to hit $40,000.
Yeah.
So worst case scenario, you get one mediocre, unfunny movie from us that'll be a murder mystery.
But then hopefully we'll get more than just the one, because
Yeah.
that pitch you were given for Trudy sounds really fucking interesting. And so does the other one, Casually Cool. It sounds sick.
And it's the thing that like we've as I've been accumulating and have been very fortunate to work with really talented people. David Kornfeld, who was the assistant conductor on Jagged Little Pill, the Alanis Morissette touring show, who I worked with in Chicago doing storefront musical theater stuff. He did the score and arranged a lot of the songs for Sweetmeats. He's back on board for both movies. Gary Kroger from Saturday Night Live is on board as producer for both movies. He's probably going to play our Jim Jones cult leader and Mr. Belding character, because the cult leader and the principal of the high school, it's a double cast,
Right, okay.
played by the same actor. He came on board because he did a thing with us years ago that I reached out to him. I was just like, I think you'd be really good for this part. I was like, but we have zero money to offer. I was like, it would benefit us if you wanted to do this.
Yeah.
And so he looked through everything. He was just like, would love to. Yes, use my name. So by the time this drops, we might have other SNL connections as well, just through my connections in the comedy world. We do have a lot of local Cincinnati support, which is great. Yeah, I really hope we get to make both movies and tour them as a double feature, because that is my ultimate goal, is just like taking these two, almost like what Tarantino Rodriguez wanted to do with Grindhouse.
Yeah.
But like, I think it's more impressive if you don't know who the fuck the people are.
Oh yeah. Be a hell of a curiosity.
Yep.
Yeah. And so like White Lighter, who's a local band in Cincinnati, they got a great sound. They came on board and I had written the Trudy theme, which is my version of the Psychedelic Furs Pretty in Pink theme. And I was like, but it's super narratively dense heavy. Like it drops a lot of information of like what you're getting ready to see.
Yeah.
And so luckily they dug it and they did their version of it, which I love. And they're gonna play some songs in Casually Cool as well. And they're gonna be the main band for the soundtrack for Trudy. But one of the things that they said, because I pitched to them, I was like, I don't know what the distribution is going to be like. Right now, we're thinking I'm going to try to book as many theaters, because if Troma has taught me anything, it's like find theaters that aren't associated with studios and who are independent and who want to do these weird, like boutique little shows. I was like, that's what I'm going to kind of pitch. And they were like, oh, let us know, because maybe we could do a co-tour and we could tour as our band. If we play songs in both the movies, we could do a set as our band and then play the songs live as they play during the movie.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, and then that could be like a whole concert / like night. I was just like, yeah, for me, I was like, that would be amazing. Like I would totally spend $20 to be like, 2 movies and a live band. Yeah. What's this?
Oh yeah, you'd be all over that.
If your film had a dream screening anywhere, like festivals or anything like that, where would you sort of?
Uh, it's with my producer brain of being like, what would be more advantageous for a screening? It would clearly be at the most like it would be like Toronto, or it would be at Sundance, or it would be at something where the magnitude of like the most amount of people, influential people that could see it, that think that could dictate the rest of your career or be career makers could see it. Now, that would be I mean that would be such a good thing and a bad thing. Like say Sweetmeats screens in front of all of the hit makers and the movers and the shakers, all the people that are just like, ooh, I'm looking for the new weird thing. Like people even to take a chance on something that might be a little bit more off the beaten path. If they see it and no one takes a bite at it, that also is just like, oh no. For me, I'm just like, no one's gonna remember the thing they didn't like.
Yeah.
So like, even if you got another bite at the apple, it might be harder to get, but like you shouldn't put all of your weight on one thing. I don't know, like best screening, I've had it. Like as dumb as it is, we had a sold out screening for All Your Friends Are Dead when we had it at the Esquire in Cincinnati. We had it Esquire in Cincinnati is a theater in Clifton, Ohio. It's next to UC, University of Cincinnati. Kind of an indie theater. Like I grew up seeing I Heart Huckabees, Finding Neverland, the Fox Searchlight independent movies of the day. I weirdly went and saw Autofocus with my parents, the Paul Schrader film that has a lot of sex at too young of an age, I think, or any age. Shouldn't be watching that much. Well, I mean, I watch Thriller, A Cruel Picture, the unrated, like the original edit that has penetrative sex with my brother and my dad. So I guess all the taboos are off. But so All Your Friends Are Dead played for 2 weeks at their smallest theater at the Esquire Theater to sold out crowds. That was amazing. Seeing sitting there at the back of the theater, even it was like an 80 person like small theater, seeing it filled with majority of people we didn't know and hearing their reactions, that's the dream. Sweetmeats with Lloyd and Troma at the premiere at the Esquire, but now we were in the biggest theater because it was sold out. And we had a red carpet and it was too busy. Like the other theaters that were watching their French art house movies were coming out and we're like, if you guys could be quiet, like with your. So it's really cool to have your second movie overshoot in the same location, kind of that same dream. Like the next movie, it would be, I don't know, it's not untangible, but like at Smodcastle Cinemas, if it was curated by Kevin Smith, where he's just like, and now we're going to do a Q&A. Like that's really, I mean, because Sweetmeats almost had that. Like we almost had, and like it's still a thing that could happen. But like for me, when I think of like dreams, it's not like I don't want to win the Oscar for Nora. Like I don't know that I have a movie that would be like that Oscar movie. But like when I think of dreams, it's just like, man, it'd be really fucking cool to know. Like I know Kevin Smith has my movie.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that there's a really good chance that he's seen it. But to then, if I'm able to then do a movie that I know that fucker is watching, like in the same time, like I can look to my right and be like, hey, he's watching this thing I made. It's a weird, like Clockwork Orange kind of torture that I want him to go through. But like, yeah, that would be like, it's like Robert Rodriguez. I would love to have a conversation with Robert Rodriguez, not until he's seen my movie.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to just be a fan that like goes and gets his autograph somewhere. I would love to be like in the situation where he's just like, hey, I saw whatever you did. this is my thought, I would just be like, okay. Like I wouldn't handle it well, but like
Yeah.
I grew up meeting a lot of celebrities and like going to conventions and stuff, and I got a lot of great stories, and it's a lot of who I am now because of that. But now making stuff, I grew out of it a long time ago, like especially as a stand-up performer, like opening for different, like much bigger names. Like I don't get starstruck because I kind of met the stars that I wanted to meet. And I also got a great tutelage of knowing of just like, oh man, some people suck.
Yeah.
And like they might have made some things that you really like. And like then you gotta evaluate, like, do you still like that thing? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Separate the art from the artist sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
do
Yeah.
you think you guys can do that? Like,
To an extent. To an extent.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it depends like what type of person as well. Like
There's
Yeah,
no
okay, Kevin Spacey. Like LA Confidential, I think is one of my like favorite like procedural like noir. I mean, it's a little meta noir because they knew what they were doing. And he's so good in it. And that movie deals with the idea that you're covering up your true like think about it. Two of his best movies are two movies about covering up your true self
yeah.
and like not letting it out. And it's like I don't think that I can dislike him and like Baby Driver, Nick Hines, co-founder of NKY Films. I don't know if he says this now, so I'm not speaking for him now, but I can say when that movie came on DVD, him and I are both children. When Nick Hines and I met, I knew Kevin Smith and some other filmmakers that he didn't know. He knew Robert Rodriguez, and he gave me Rebel Without a Crew. And he's like, but Nick Hines' first movie pitch was on our first date at a Mexican restaurant was he's just like, so we should make a movie about a guy with a guitar case that has guns in it. And I was like, oh, I don't think that's what we should take away from everything you just told me. I think we should take away from like, let's use what we have and like blah, blah, blah. And he was just like, all right, that sounds a lot harder than just taking what somebody else did. Um, but like we both love 90s DVDs where there's a lot of commentaries, there's a lot of special features. We like, the special editions of all that. And when Baby Driver came out, we really were happy for Edgar Wright to just be like, yeah, man, this thing you wanted to make, like this passion project, and it came out the way you wanted. And so he wanted to get the DVD with the commentary and everything, all the bells and whistles. And then after the Kevin Smith stuff dropped, or Kevin Smith, Kevin Spacey,
Yeah.
after all that Kevin Smith stuff dropped, he was just like, you know what? I don't think. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't think I'm gonna get the blue. He's like, I don't think I'm gonna get the Blu-ray. I was like, really? And he's just like, yeah. There's something about it. And I was like, huh. I was like, okay. I'm not gonna get it. Like I might get. I now have it because
Yeah.
I also went through a phase. I go through my nerd phases where I'm like, now I have to have the complete works of Edgar Wright and to watch all like I have to rewatch Scott Pilgrim and finally appreciate it because
Yeah.
I didn't when I was younger, and I have to listen to comment like so. But for him, he had a hard like, and I he's a minimalist though. He doesn't own a lot of physical media. Like I end up with a lot of his physical media. Because he's just like, yeah, I bought it. He's like, I don't know why I own this. He's like, do you want it? I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Let me add it. I have a DVD rack of film. Like it's alphabetized and broken by filmmakers. Yes, I will.
I have 4 or 5 bookshelves filled with Blu-rays, DVDs, and they're all in alphabetical order.
Do you have it broken by filmmaker, or is it all
No,
alpha?
it's just alphabetical order unless it's a sequel of a film. Then it'll just get stuck beside it.
Oh, what if it's Army of Darkness?
It's there. I have the trilogy
It's
in
in
the
Evil Dead.
collection, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. What about do you do TV series? Are in
I
there
have
that way too?
no, I have a load of TV series, but they're in like a separate unit, so they're
Yeah. Good on you.
a bit of a
They should
hodgepodge.
keep them segregated.
Yep.
Don't make them think they're movies.
They're not.
As soon as they start thinking they're movies, that's when the downfall of civilization.
is there any big lessons you learned from Sweetmeats that you're going to take into your next project then, or
Yeah, that's a great question, especially with micro budget filmmaking of um one of the our favorite things with the advent of social media, you can be connected to more people than you would ever be connected to. Like logically, even us having this conversation right now. It's a huge boon. Like as old like Orson Wellesy, like Citizen Kane, like we're living in the future. This is fantastic for good and for bad. Um, we Heinz and I, if Heinz never watched All Your Friends Are Dead, which he co-directed and did the cinematography for, he would be fine if he never saw that again. If he never saw Sweetmeats again, which he was cinematography for, and honestly co-directed because I'm in it and he's behind the camera. So like he didn't get the co-direction for that, but that's on that choice by him. He would be fine. He watches these things whether with the best audience or worst audience, doesn't matter. He still sees it with horse blinders as himself, and he sees every mistake. He hears every. He has tetanitis. Our soundtracks, which the biggest note I'll give to any indie filmmaker, micro budget filmmaker, if you got money to spend it on onset sound recording. Visuals can be a choice. Bad sound, never a choice anybody's ever making. No one's like, I want my thing to sound like garbage. Um, and we have learned that. So from Sweetmeats to Casually Cool, which we are in pre-production for now, we are, gosh, this is an even more interesting question because now we're trying to make Casually Cool like we did All Your Friends Are Dead, and we didn't spend money on sound for All Your Friends Are Dead. But in the uptick in technology, we are trying to figure out what is the most cost efficient. Having an on-set sound person, you have to pay for a person, you have to pay for the equipment. It's it's not like we want to not pay someone for what they can do, but we're also trying to shoot the moon. So we always say like All Your Friends Are Dead was made for $5,959 with $4,000 more favors, making it more of like a $10,000 movie.
Yeah.
So if Casually Cool.
Oh, he's back on now.
Oh yeah.
You all right, bud?
Yes.
Yeah, I just got
I
a
don't-
freeze frame there. So
Yep.
No, you're fine. Let me know where I trailed off and I can pick up.
So it was really talking about the on-set recording.
Yeah, so on-set sound recording, it costs a lot of money, but even since 2 years ago with doing Sweetmeats, trying to do something cheaper, which it sucks to be like, hey, a big expenditure goes towards a physical body and their thing that they're really proficient at, like on-set sound recording. But when you're doing a feature at the levels that we're doing, we do have to find different areas to cut corners. And when it comes to people, like physical people, that's one of the things, and it's one of the biggest expenses. So we're looking into and we're testing, which this is the first time that we've had this luxury to have pre-production time. Usually we make movies almost like improvisers improvise. Like the transition from open house to Sweetmeats was a month. And talking Nick Hines, as I mentioned before, who turned down Satan versus Santa, rightfully. And he was just like, no, I think we should do something more personal. And then I pitched him All Your Friends Are Dead. And I was just like, what if it's like a semi autobiographical alternate universe story of me? And like, what if I cared about sports and like cared about all this and like blah, blah, blah. And he was just like, oh, I like that. And so Sweetmeats, he really liked the open house story because the opposite side of the realtor story was this mother and this daughter who are homeless and who had figured out that you can get showings for houses. And while you're in there, you can leave certain windows and doors unlocked.
yeah,
And you can have a roof over your head with electricity on. And so that's their little scam they're working. But then they, of course, like any horror movie, they come across the wrong
Yeah.
thing. And like, but it's the most unlikely, right? It's like realtors. And it's just like, oh, this is weird. Like, this is more awkward than it is horrifying. It's horrifying how awkward this is, and just
Yeah.
how cringy this is. But then it turns out they're cannibals, so it's also physically awkward.
Yeah.
Um, but so with that, Heinz is really good about being like holding the feet to the flame, which we have been leaning into more, which is the heart and the humor. But in the technical side of things, Heinz is really good and really wants to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes over and over again. I was mentioning before early on in this about getting connected to the community that like with social media you can kind of talk to the people that you admire. Vincent Pereira, who is the View Askew historian, who's on the Dogma commentary, who he grew up listening to, who's friends with Kevin Smith, made A Better Place and a movie. He watched All Your Friends Are Dead and sent us this like 3-page, like dictated like notes of like criticism. And the best thing about it was none of the notes were anything that Hyance and I had said to each other.
Yeah.
So like from someone being incredibly like being critical and not holding back, but also from that area, like I have heard Kevin Smith talk about Vinny Pereira and like their origin story of coming together and then like how he viewpoints. It's why I love listening to Kevin Smith talk about his friends because it feels like me and my friends like in the basement and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So getting that from him, I was just like, man, this is great. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like he saw all the like Heinz is like, what are you talking about? He
Yeah.
saw all the focus changes and blah 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 and this and this and this. He saw that they're both filmed at the same different time. I was like, yeah, but we know that too, and we know that's why it like doesn't
Yeah.
work like as well as we'd want it to work. And he's like, and so like Heinz and I like we're very much as fans as we are of making film and trying to execute these ideas in our head, we also are then when we sit and look at it, it will go through another stage. So a classic Heinz thing is surprising, I don't know to any people, but the script to Sweetmeats, if you did the movie was playing and the script was scrolling alongside of it, it's pretty fucking word for word,
Yeah.
which I think most people think if you've seen it, it's more improvised based on Eileen and Timmy and myself. It almost seems not a I was going to say criticism, but it was a critique that we got. Someone reviewed it and said it feels like a Christopher Guest movie made by John Waters. And I was just like, oh, I was like, I really like that. I was like, I will use that. I would never say that myself, but yes. Because while we were making it, like our direction was, this is as almost of like if it was a documentary while someone was making a VH1 behind the movie, like biopic,
Yeah.
like with actors portraying the thing. I was like, so it's heightened like dramatics or whatever, and it's the dialogue is really like on Front Street, like making sure like even for the slow kids, you get the Faustian. Like
Yeah.
he's made like multiple times Bobby is like being offered to deal with the devil, and he was just like, yep.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, she's pretty. Like and like it's her brother, and he's just like, yeah, fuck that guy. Like I don't even remember his name. Like, yeah.
No.
So yeah, what you're saying, like we do diligently try to each thing look at what we didn't do the last time. With Casually Cool, one of the things we're looking forward to is it's not going to look like I don't think All Your Friends Are Dead or Sweetmeats look alike, and that is on purpose. They're not executed, and they're not the best looking versions of those things, but we are stylistically so like Casually Cool. We're gonna edit it and film it like a Rockford Files episode. So in dialogue scenes, it's not going to be the long just because we have theater people who can do the or improvisers that can do the long dialogue scenes. It's like Eileen and Timmy are back. Timmy plays who played Jerry in Sweetmeats is RF Cool who plays the Jim Rockford Magnum PI kind of part, and Eileen plays his wife in it. And so for Casually Cool, we have them back, but again, they're going to be filmed differently than they were for Sweetmeats. Like it's going to be single, 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 single. It's going to be filmed like it was. I'm sorry if anybody listens, like, what the fuck does that mean? It means in one frame, you're just going to see the one actor say their line, and then next frame, you're just going to see the other actor.
Just the quick cuts.
Yeah, giving it like, which we don't do, but we're going to be like, all right, we have to do it. Like, we have to do it this way to get this feeling across. And that was the same thing for Sweetmeats. That's the one thing that we knew. I'm also not going to be in these movies. If I had, so if in the future, if 2 years from now, these movies come out and I play a large role, it's because someone dropped out
Yeah.
and I had to.
You didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
So are you
I
directing
I
and
do-
writing these then, just and producing them?
Yeah, directing, writing, and producing. So one of the things Hyance wants me to do is he wants us to be more of a team, like side by side. So instead of me in front of the camera, like numerous times, I would say in All Your Friends Are Dead or Sweetmeats, I would say, do we have it? Because we don't have the time or the money to keep on doing takes. Most takes we'd ever do, I think, is the kitchen scene in Sweetmeats where Jerry and Bobby, where Jerry is just like, no, come on, man. Like, what if someone told Lee Harvey Oswald, like,
Yeah.
don't be going and shooting the president? Like that scene. I think we did it 3 times. And it was mainly for coverage to have different angles. And it wasn't like, oh, we got to do this 3 times because we didn't get it or we should have it look different. It's just the nature of the beast of just like we're in a working restaurant where we have to turn off all of the equipment. If we do too many takes, we then have to include time where we turn all of the refrigerators back on so the meat doesn't spoil
Yeah.
because this place is a business.
Was there any scenes from Sweetmeats that was really hard to get just because of the micro budget of it?
There was, I will speak to what we didn't film with the micro budget helmet on versus something we did spend part of a day on that isn't in the movie. So you get both ends of it where you will still make bad choices for no money and you'll still spend time. Um, Within the movie scripted, when I said if you ran the movie scripted, it's going to be pretty close as improv-y as it feels. It's pretty word for word. Um, we had scripted, or I had scripted, that there would be these transitions where we would see these different food items like the fried like the balls or the chicken breast of the cheerleaders that were cut off, that you would see interstitials like almost as cutaways like the chapter art, which is also scripted. Like all that, like the chapter titles, like that is scripted because I wanted to write it like this, like Thornbirds, like Winds of War, like this episodic, like mini series thing that was like so serious but so fucking stupid, like purposely. And within that, for production value, I was like, yeah, you see the growth of all of these ridiculous foods that Bobby mentions at the end. He's like, we've got this, we got this. What happened to the burgers and fries, burger and fries? So that was scripted. We weren't going to do that during principal photography in that 8 days, the gambit that we did of 8 days nonstop shooting. But what we were going to do was we were going to plan like we did in For All Your Friends Are Dead, where we had no planning for pickup shots or anything or inserts or anything. We were going to have a couple of days where we're going to do some inserts. Now, Nick of Nick's Restaurant, who plays the bass in the musical performance sequences. That's Nick of Nick. That is Nick of Nick's Restaurant. He owns Nick's Restaurant. That's his place. The bald dude with glasses playing bass. That is his band also. You can also hear him on all the songs. He is awesome. Like he plays a local like wedding band kind of band.
Yeah.
Again, just another luck thing we fell into. But like having him and having the restaurant, he was offering us, he's like, look, there's days where I gotta boil meat for this Greek restaurant or whatever, for this diner of these different weird meats. He's like, do you want to come in and get B-roll? Because he like we had like had a language with him, and we're like, yeah, maybe, maybe, maybe. And we're like, because yeah, we want to come in and get all these different weird food items, and like maybe we'll make because we had K&8 Printing, which is a local printing place who printed a lot of the logos and stuff, printing stuff that you see in the movie. They donated that to us, and we're a producer. I was like, we could make fake 45 covers of all the singles that play, like The Grind or Catching You. We can make fake album covers
Yeah.
and have those as inserts, like putting out in like in front of the cash register. And we could have that juxtaposed with the weird food. So my boys, my twin boys, my wife Allie, who plays pregnant woman in All Your Friends Are Dead, and is actually a pregnant woman in Sweetmeats, who comes up to the counter and gets the soda to go. She's pregnant with my twin sons. Anna is my daughter, who plays Bobina at the bookends.
Yeah.
But so my wife's pregnant with the twins. Hyatt starts editing the movie, and he gets about 20 minutes in, which is post turd, post flashback. I think it goes right to the end of the pregnant woman Laddie scene. So Laddie saying what her name is. I'm in the hospital with my wife when she's getting ready to give birth, having twins. And Hines texts me and he's just like, this is as much as I can edit of the movie. I don't know where it goes from here. And I'm just like, what are you talking? I was like, it's the script. I had the other scenes. And he's like, I'm sorry. He's like, I've hit a roadblock. He's like, if I upload to the iCloud dummied down footage, do you think you could give me an assembly edit of what you see the rest of the movie being? I'm just like, well, I guess I got a few days. I'm going to be in the hospital. Sure. And I got the Splice app. Yeah. And so he sends me through the iCloud, dummied down, because he got rid of all the takes, or if we did 2 takes. So it is just all the footage that I need. I just have to put it together. And through the Splice app, I edited the first edit of the full movie, and then I sent it back to him, and he was just like, "Okay, this is the movie." I was like, "You did it! Like the first 20 minutes, I was like, you had it." And
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, I just didn't say." Him and I work so differently, but for good and for good. For I was gonna say for good and for bad, but like a lot of people think like different jokes that happen in our movies come from me, and a lot of times they come from Hyatt
Yeah.
because he's not as good of a narrative like storyteller, but like in the moment, if he thinks of something, he'll pitch it, and he's such a good in the moment
Yeah.
joke, like earnest. Like there's a scene in All Your Friends Are Dead at the beginning just to show the addict of the character that I'm playing. He accidentally spills a bottle of whiskey. And so Hines was just like, so that's how it was scripted. So originally the scripted is he spills the bottle of whiskey, but he's worried about cleaning up his Nana's house. He cleans it real quick. And so Hines is just like, what if in this take you spill the bottle of whiskey and you're so concerned about cleaning it, but you're so addicted and also don't want to waste a drop that you then sip it up like it's a line of Coke, but you're drinking it. And I was like, that's fucking funny. I was like, that's great. Similarly, within the movie is about what if one of the Breakfast Club members emailed all of his best friends and was just like, I'm going to kill myself. And they're just like, oh, fuck, we got to stop, whoever from killing themselves. And they stop him. So in the scene of the movie where my character goes to hang himself, Ricky, I don't know how to tie a noose. And it's just me and Hyatt. And I pulled out my iPhone and I was just like looking up how to tie a noose on YouTube. And he's like, this needs to be a scene in the movie. Is just you looking up how to tie it. So it's like shit like that. I'm just like, yeah, you are really good at finding the honesty of the humor in the moment where it's not even like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 of where you're like you're making fun of it. It's not even a Naked Gun where you're like a parody. It's just you are highlighting, almost like taking a highlighter over something that is honest and relatable that seems so like it's such a joke that's written, but it's just really putting that neon highlighter over it, just being like, yeah, this happens. And
Yeah.
that's what Heinz is really good at. And so like shit with like casually cool, I'll blow a joke if it ends up in the movie or not. So first off, with me and Hunter, to sell Heinz, because we were working on Trudy, but we're like, it's gonna be $40,000 to $50,000. And we were like, okay, we came to him one day, we're like, what if we did 2 movies in 1 year? And he's just like, fuck off. He's like, I'm not doing it. We're like, but it's this. And he's like, the only way I'll do it is if the movie opens up with a body washing up on the shore. And that's the dead body. And we were like, funny enough, we do have that. And it's a girl in a mermaid costume. And it's from a princess party. And he's like, all right, I'm on board.
Nice.
So the one joke that he had was he's like, she's got to have drugs on her, or she's got to have white powder on her. And he's like, this is a joke that I've always thought of when watching these shows. Like, we've all watched, like, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people have watched with their dads, or just like something you catch on that's like on after school when you're a kid, these detective shows. And he's like, there's always that scene where they're just like, and they're tasting it. They're just like, huh, I wonder what that is. It's like fucking cocaine. Like, it's cocaine. But he's like, what if we had a runner where the detective was having people that he was like showing the picture of, like, have you seen this girl? Do you know anything? The non-dialogue transitional scenes. But he's also having them taste this white powder. And so at the end, they're all addicted and they're just like,
Yeah.
and there's no, yeah. And so I was just like, yeah, I was like, that's the perfect kind of like, it's not Naked Gun, and it's close to Wet Hot, but it's also like, I don't know, like there's been a lot of that of us like figuring out like where is the line to like how far we go. I say let's shoot it, and while we're editing, if it doesn't work, then we can cut it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. You might as well have it there and not need it than want it and not have it there. So you do stand up as well? That's part of your gig, isn't it? I've seen on your
I
socials
do.
you're doing a lot of different stand up shows at the moment.
It's not my favorite form of creative expression. I would much rather, as I tried doing with Glenn Tickle, him and I co-host a podcast called Daddy-O, where the main commonality is that we are both middle-aged white men um, who do stand-up comedy and have children. So we're dads. I would much rather do a planned show with him because then we get to go and hang out and we get to have fun. Stand-up is such a lonely art form that part of my personal journey right now has been trying to figure out what my voice is in that art form because I don't, not that I've ever been pandering, I've always been doing to a semi-lucrative level uh comedy in the stand-up way that I've liked. But I'm like, you know what? I don't think this is the best version of me at stand-up. Like I don't think it's the funniest version or even what I like the most. So I've been not it is crowd work, but it is not like crowd work for clips. I'm like, what if because I could use my improv skills that I could make every show that I do be a stand-up show where you get to know about me. But what if I set it up as in the format of a live talk show? I'm not playing Jimmy Fallon. Like, I'm not playing a character. I'm an exaggerated version of myself because the real version of me doesn't fucking care who you are.
Yeah.
Like, and that's with no malice. It's just like, if I have my own time and I'm not getting paid, it's not going to be spent finding out who a stranger is. It's going to be creating art.
Yeah.
But that's that's myself, like that's what I want to do. But like for stand up, I'm just like, well, what if I was a traveling talk show and I was that host where I will monologize, like I will give my monologue or whatever, my jokes, and I'll try to get you to know me because also part of this show is no one who's coming to see me most of the time knows who I am,
Yeah.
even though I have some credits. But so I'm like, okay, if I could present this in a way that my special guest of the night is going to be an audience member, but I'm going to give them a little bit of a safety net. I'm going to give them a card of questions to ask me. So they're just going to basically intro the pre-written bits that I have that tell about me and that are my quote unquote stand up. I'm going to ask them questions about them, which pretty transparently is going to be a Mad Lib, which is going to end the show like with their answers.
Yeah.
But they're my guest for the night. They're the special guest. And I'm the traveling talk show host that came to their town or wherever. Why they're at this show, we'll probably find out. And so I've really liked doing that format a little bit more than being like, let me come. It's surprising. It surprises me how many audiences still think stand-up comedy is off the top of people's heads.
Yeah.
Wild.
I don't see how anybody could just stand on a stage in front of that many people and just be instantly like funny coming off of that stuff. It must be so difficult writing jokes and all that would land.
You're saying funny. I'm saying just have the balls and the gumption or the confidence to not look like a complete crazy person and talk for 45 minutes, regardless of what the audience participation is or their reaction is. Like, I have had shows where I have been asked, like, what my favorite show is, or my least favorite show, which is usually the question, and it's the same answer. I was the closing act at a benefit at an auction for a children's hospital, more specifically, the cancer wing of a children's hospital, who, before I went on at the end of the night, which started at 6, I was going on at 10 and going on from 10 to 10:30. It was open bar. It was an auction. It was buffet. So a lot of money spent, a lot of drinks being drank, and a lot of food being eaten. And then me for the last hour of this thing before these people can go home and respect the evening. Um, Before I go on, they show a video of all the kids who had passed away through the year in memoriam of the Children's Hospital. And they're like, and now here's your comedian, Ricky Glore.
Yeah.
And at that time, my daughter had just been born. And I was just like, oh man, I was like, you're going to hear 15 straight minutes about how I have an alive child.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry.
That sounds so awkward.
But that's like one of the times where I was just like looking at my watch. I was just like, you, at the end of this, you cannot say I did not do 30 minutes
Yeah.
of comedy. You pay me my gross amount of money that you're paying me for 30 minutes.
That sounds wild.
Have you ever really had to deal with hecklers or anything like that?
I did, and it's the worst I had been, which is part of this crisis of faith of changing what I do, because I do feel if I have any integrity as a creator, I'll sell out as long as I can justify it. Like Casually Cool, we're selling basically advertising space from local businesses because we are embracing. So if Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is Tarantino's love letter to Hollywood, Casually Cool is our love letter to Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati. Like, it just features these things of like, we all grew up here. We're just like, yeah, it is really cool to have this like New Jersey to New York vibe of being in like podunk, like Northern Kentucky, and then just having like Cincinnati, not just a big city, but like a metropolitan city that is like featured in pop culture, like WKRP in Cincinnati. Like, there's a lot of things where like Cincinnati is a thing. The Big Red Machine helps, like sports have helped over the years. But we're like, yeah, let's treat it with the love and like the appreciation Like all those, like if Hawaii is to Magnum PI, let's do that. Let's embrace the city. So we've been selling sponsorships because the way that we know, and me, Eric Hunter, and Nick Hines have talked about this. We're like, we don't want to do a movie that has a weird product placement, like smack dab in the middle of it. And it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
that
It takes you out
sucks.
of it a wee bit.
Like, what did that? Because then as an audience, I'm like, what did that pay for? Did that pay for that explosion? Like,
Yeah.
oh shit, they just showed boobs. Did that pay for that chick's boobs? Like, what did that pay for? Um, but the luxury of, as we've all talked, I was like, man, part of the thing we're doing, and you can see on the Indiegogo with one of the test intros that we did for Casually Cool, to be like, can we match the vibe of those shows? Like, just to get you in the field, like with the music, with the intro and the editing. And I'm just like, yeah, I actually think with technology now, with like drones, with, again, talking about equipment from before, we may be, by the time this comes out, we may have already decided the iPhone 17 shoots in a ProRes RAW, and to give to a colorist, which we're going to do this time to fit the vibe that we're going for with Casually Cool, especially, I could upgrade my phone, Heinz could upgrade his phone, and we actually might have the best piece of equipment, especially with iCloud, like sharing shit and like quote unquote getting dailies. Like if you're gonna play like in the same way, like let's look at footage at the end of the day. Again, giving ourselves more production time. So if we're not gonna shoot 8 days in a row, maybe we'll shoot 4 days in a row and have 2 days off. Those 2 days we're still gonna be working because we're gonna look over the footage. But this is the new thing we're kind of affording ourselves with having this much pre-production time. When we're talking now, we're in September 21st, 2025. When this airs around closer to the beginning of October, we may have already made these decisions, but part of what makes it hard of deciding is it's ultimately deciding what we think will be easiest for us while we're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And that's where the equipment comes, and that's where Heinz's expertise comes in. So, like, I'm not a student of lenses. Him and I have this shorthand from doing sketch comedy and having a certain filmography of different directors and things. Like I said, he introduced me to Rodriguez, where I'd be like, all right, oh, Sweetmeats is a great example. When Nick is going back into the meat grinder and he's doing this, I just said to Heinz, I was like, Vertigo, Jaws. I was like, we just need that shot. And it shows like, I think I also like, I was like, we need a dolly zoom. We need a forced perspective dolly zoom. Like, I think I did say like probably the appropriate, like if he knew, but I knew he knew. But as soon as I mentioned those things, he was just like, all right. He's like, let me practice this. And like, because we are, so like, even the lighting in Sweetmeats and Bobby, that's the basement of Bobby Mackey's, like that shot where it pans across from the window shot of the steps and blah, blah, blah. That's because we were just in it. And I was just like, we didn't have a shot list for a lot of things. Like the most shot listed thing was it's based on timing and it usually is connected to a comedic beat. So like Laddie pulling Bobby into the closet where she impregnates herself and then they come back and that being a one shot. I was like, that's something I had scripted. So that's almost like a shot listed shot. But like that window scene in the basement of Bobby Mackey's or the basement of Nick's restaurant within the movie was literally because I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we just panned from right to left and all this stuff happened and then it just opened up into this area where the rest of the stuff happens?
Yeah.
Because we're kind of like we're mirroring a lot of shots of like the long takes with Laddie with her monologues, and this is going to come off the seams of that. And so a lot of this movie is kind of a snake. And so whether Laddie is the snake of temptation and the fucking, the Garden of Eden, like blah, blah, bullshit. Like we're just like, yeah. Could be that, could be that, could be that. Like, well, so Nick Hines, and when he was first editing Sweetmeats and grabbing all the footage, he's just like, I just want you to know, I was behind the camera and I never noticed this when I was behind the camera. But now looking through the footage, every scene that Laddie offers Bobby a deal, like the Faustian deal, like the deal with the devil, there's an exit sign above Bobby's head that he doesn't walk towards. He goes the other direction.
Yeah.
He's like, I could have told you this information as if saying, look at this. I've been making this choice the whole time behind the camera that you
Yeah.
haven't been seeing, and I'm such a great filmmaker. This is why you should never not make something without me. He's like, but I didn't. He's like, I was honest, and this is accident. He's like, so if we can keep on accidentally making really good choices,
Yeah.
I think we got something.
That's sick. But
That's sick.
I just love the fact that you just didn't even realize you were doing such a fucking cool moment.
Yeah, such a like Brechtian level, like no exit, just like, oh
Yeah.
fucking Bobby could really like make a good choice. That's again, it's that thing of like anybody who's been like Bobby's my favorite character. I was like, yeah, I'm like, I like him too, but because he is that ego side of I think that we all have, it's just like, well, what would you do to just like approximate get the dream, like the lofty dream that you have, and that like each turn in Sweetmeats, not to suck off the movie Sweetmeats, but I just love that just like Bobby at like each turn's just like, yeah, you know what, fuck him. Or like fuck, like fuck that, like all right, like so at one point Lloyd was gonna have, or Lloyd propositioned me, as lewd as that sounds, to writing or directing Poultrygeist 2. And when I told him, when, when we told him our pitch for Poultrygeist 2, he's like, huh. Because we're like, we want to do it a black and white movie. And we want it to be Music Man. And instead of he comes with the wagon of music, it's a food truck. It's the first ever food truck. But the worst idea for a first ever food truck should be poultry, which should be very cooked under very specific conditions and refrigerated. So there are salmonella zombies. And like we wrote 3 songs and I had this like presentation, and we weren't even pitching for it. Lloyd tagged me and a handful of other different trauma people in a tweet. It was just like, these are the people that are working on the next Poultrygeist 2. And I got connected to it. And Nick Hines is just like, do you see Lloyd said that we're working on the next Poultrygeist 2? I was like, news to me. I was like, we've never talked about that.
It's so funny as well because we watched Poultrygeist the other week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it was your first viewing.
Yeah.
I went first seen it a while ago as well, and those
Wait. So how do you guys rate movies?
Um,
out of 10.
well, like
Okay.
I used Letterboxd, so I do like
Yeah.
there, but like it's trying to like
Have you done Sweetmeats? Have you letterbox Sweetmeats?
I haven't I
Do
haven't
it.
did it, but I've like reviewed it.
I'm not saying you need to tell me who you are. I love the letterbox. What a fun, like, because most people that post stuff on there, even if they don't like it, like we have a pretty bad review in Russian for All Your Friends Are Dead, that like we were just like, this review's long. Like Heinz and I were just like, look how long this review is. They must be loving our fucking movie in Russia. And we did a transcribe and we're just like, oh, they really didn't like it. They really took their time detailing how much they didn't like. So like Letterbox for me, I'm like, man, nobody's just like, thought it was gay, sucked. Like no one's like creating a Letterbox account. So like, yeah, whatever review, please earnestly, even if you have a burner account, please post your.
But yeah, it's hard though when you're reading. It's like objectively how good something is, as well as your enjoyment for something is trying to balance
Yes.
that.
So what is your guys' scale? So I have that too. So like I've equated that I think horror movies, and I'm saying horror, the broad sense of the genre. So like Psycho is horror because it's thriller. Scream is horror. Like Shaun of the Dead is horror. Like things like horror encompasses a very broad spectrum, and that's why I use like, well, horror is pizza, because like I've had really bad pizza, but the most disappointed that I am is that like, oh man, I really like pizza, and you're not as good. Like you're not even like the base. Like even when I'm upset at pizza, it's just like, mm, like, well, at least I had pizza. Like horror movies, I think are that for me. So when it comes to like trauma and like Poultrygeist, like even that, I was just like, I've never seen it. I don't know that I want to see it to make a sequel because I don't want to make a legacy sequel
Yeah.
because there is years between. But I was like, I would have like past actors play these parts or whatever. But like going through it without like I watched a trailer, I literally read the Wikipedia before sending in our like this is what we would do, which was immediately shot down for all the right reasons. Like I think they realized they made a mistake by releasing Sweetmeats because the nicest thing that our reviews for Sweetmeats have said are it's the best trauma movie. Like it's like it's the smartest trauma movie. And I'm just like, well, yeah, we didn't make it thinking we were making a trauma movie. And I also the joke before about adding boobs, like we didn't know like when we turned it over, we're like, well, we've got a big turd in it. Like maybe that's enough.
Well, that's in the trauma wheelhouse anyway, big turds.
Yep.
Yeah.
But no. Ricky, it's been great having you on. I think we're gonna have to call this, but we've honestly it's been awesome talking to you, dude. So it has, and thanks for sending Sweet Meats
Oh,
to us to watch because we had a great time watching it, honestly. Even the
thank you.
music was stuck in our fucking head for days afterwards.
I got it on my Spotify
Yeah.
playlist.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I always forget. Yeah, you can get the Sweetmeats album on Spotify, on Apple Music, wherever you get music, you can get it. I always forget that that's out there in the ether.
Yeah, because that's one of the first things. They're like, can you get that on Spotify? And we were like, to go, yeah.
Well, that is one of my favorite things of like different marketing. For the movie, we had two different posters. One which was like the gnarly butcher's mask, the iconography of the butcher of Laddie as the killer. And so one of the posters is Sadist Art Designs, Mark Schoenbach. It's it's way gnarlier than the movie is. And like if you see that poster, you're just like, oh fuck, this movie's gonna be metal as hell. And like you watch the movie, you're like, oh no. But so we had a second poster that was commissioned that is more in the 70s South exploitation. Like, boo, they're gonna get in some trouble, like goofy. And I'm like, yeah, that more fits it. But like I'm glad that we have all these different ways to market the movie. The album cover is a picture that someone took during production of me and Eileen, like doing like a prom photo where I'm covered in blood from her dad. Like, and we're sitting at the dinner table like this, and that's the album cover that they use. I was just like, I fucking love, like, anybody that looks at that's like, what is this? And then they listen to the music. I was like, this sounds like bad late 70s, like Smokey and the Bandit 2 soundtrack songs. I'm like, yeah, it is.
But no, I honestly, dude, like I said before, it's been great having you on. So it has, this is an experience for us. So it is.
Yeah, absolute pleasure.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, if you haven't watched Phantasm,
I many years ago.
I have not.
if you ever want to do an episode on the series or on one of the movies, please invite me back. If we can make a better time that is not as late for you guys, I will come on and talk Phantasm or Elm Street if you guys do Elm Street for
Oh, yep.
days.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a date.
Yep.
Elm Street Extended Universe, even the comic book series that Image did in the 90s.
You're all over it.
I'm all over it. If you need an expert, that's Elm Street is the one expert of like horror movies that I could lend myself to.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yep.
But no, cheers, dude. It's been great having you on. And Sweet Meats, hopefully it'll come out soon and everybody can get watching it.
Yes.
Yeah, and good luck with the December filming and stuff and everything in between.
Yeah, and click on if in the show notes or if it's not a linkable clip, Google Casually Cool or Truly Trudy, NKY Films. There'll be an Indiegogo link. Hopefully by this time we have blown past the initial $7,000 perk limit, because that'll open up Truly Trudy to get the exclusive Blu-ray, poster, soundtrack, for all those things. As you guys mentioned, the songs, you just couldn't get them out of your ears.
Yeah.
Hopefully for these next two movies, it's the same thing. We're always doing, I plan on doing as much as I can original music, because like Tarantino, he has enough money to, this isn't a slam, but it's like, he has enough money that they're just like, what do you want your soundtrack to be? And he's just like, let me look through.
Yeah.
I have been really fortunate to be connected with a lot of really talented musicians and songwriters over the years that we collaborate, and it's just like, okay, well, what is this? Is this a soundtrack of yacht rock? Oh, we're going to write all these songs that sound like Steely Dan, that sound like Chicago, that sound like Michael McDonald, that sound like Blood, Sweat, and Tears, like some different, like weird songs. And we're going to make the soundtrack ourselves. That's one of the exclusive perks on the Indiegogo, is you can get the Casually Cool soundtrack that's going to have a lot of local bands doing these. Oh, and Demon Scar. If you guys, Sweetmeats fans who heard Eat the People and the band that appears, Demon Scar and Sweetmeats, they're doing one of the songs for Casually Cool called It's All Happening. Nick Greystone, if you don't follow that gentleman, oh my God, he is such a delight. Nearly lost an eye for our movie when he got squirted with the blood. The PSI was way too high and he almost got blinded. But
Shit.
that's micro budget filmmaking. So anyway, thank you guys. Yeah, find out how you guys can support NKY Films, how you guys support you guys. How can people best get to you guys? Commenting, sharing the episode, liking, subscribing.
All of that.
Yeah,
all of the above.
Any form
Yeah.
of contact on
YouTube,
social media.
Spotify. Yeah, all that. But
Do it. You guys are from Ireland, right?
Northern Ireland, yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of coastal, like just regional white dudes in the Midwest doing podcasts about horror movies and things of the like. These guys are from Ireland. That gives them the edge.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome, dude. But
Yeah.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys.
We'll get talking to you again soon, mate.
Later.
Adios, dude.
Adios, muchachos.
Together.